Hi guys, today's video is going to be a continuation of the last topic that we were doing. Remember we had come up with this new equation. I should have an A in front of there. So we have this new equation with an A, and the R is the percent up and down, and we're going to use that equation now. So the deal is, on this lesson, sometimes we might be given an equation in this form. Other times we might be given the equation in this form. The benefit of the 1 plus r or 1 minus r equation is that we can see the rate very easily. The other one isn't always as clear, and so sometimes we will want this. Let me show you what I mean. This first example comes from the Big Ideas textbook. They give us this equation. Now that equation, to me, looks really confusing. I don't know what the percent rate is. It looks like maybe it's 50%, but then this is a fraction, which is kind of crazy. So let me tell you a couple things how we're going to deal with this type of problem. One thing is to understand that t over 28 is the same thing as t times 1 over 28. That's one thing you need to keep in mind. We know that. We just need to remember that. Another thing we need to remember is that when you have exponents and you have something like this, x to the second to the third power, that equals x to the sixth. In other words, this power of power comes out to be just actually a multiplication problem. What we are going to do is we're going to start with this original problem, but I'm going to break this up like I did here. Okay, I broke down my fraction, and I made it 1 over 28 times t. Because of these two things, I put these two concepts together to make it 1 over 28 times t. Now I'm going to go to my calculator and get a decimal approximation for 0.5 to the 1 over 28 power. And your calculator will do that. So on your calculator, you just put in 0.5 and then use that caret button for to the power of, and you just do 1 divided by 28. You can do the fraction, but you don't need to. Just do 1 divided by 28. And then we hit enter, and we get 0.9755. Okay, I'm going to go back to my paper. Okay, so I got 0.9755. That's what my calculator told me. My calculator told me that this was this decimal approximation. Now, because of our formula, we actually want it in the form of 1 plus or 1 minus. Well, think about this. Is this going to be 1 plus or 1 minus? Well, it's less than 1. It has to be 1 minus. 1 minus what? I'm going to go back to my calculator. And in my calculator, I'm going to hit 1 minus, and I'm going to grab that decimal and hit enter so I have it, bring it down. And this gives me 0.02445. Another way to say that would be maybe 1 minus 0.02445 is that, which is what we had a second ago. And so in other words, this is what we can put in, right here is what we can put into our parentheses. So now I have it in this form. Okay, why did we even want to do that? Because the question asks what percent decays each day. As it was before, I couldn't tell. But now I have just a plain old t, and I can change this to a percent. That as a percent is 2.45%. And is it increase or decrease? Well, it's decrease. So that's how we're going to do those problems. I know it kind of takes a while to get through there, so I'm going to do at least a couple more examples. I might not do all of these because there are several. And all of these questions actually come from our Big Ideas textbook from page 301. So that's where these come from. And then one of the assignments would be to do the ones that I didn't do here. But let's just start off this problem. All right, the first thing is to change that fraction into a multiplication problem. Now I'm going to go to my calculator and I'm going to figure out what is 2 to the 1/3 power. So do that on your calculator. Okay, on your calculator, did you get 1.2599? Okay, well, what percent is that? Is that growth or decay? Hopefully we can see that that one is growth, and that means we're going to make that a 1 plus r problem. And so our rate is 25.99%. We just have to move our decimal over 2 places. Let's do number 2. It's going to be a decay problem. So I'm going to change that. Instead of having that fraction, I'm going to have a multiplying by a fraction like this. Now I'm going to go to my calculator. I'm going to enter 0.25 to the 1/9 power on my calculator. Try that, see what you get. Okay, you should have gotten 0.857 for that decimal. Now, would that be 1 plus or 1 minus? It's going to be 1 minus. So to figure out the 1 minus, let's take this away from 1 and see what we get. So if you take that away from 1, you should get 0.143. This is the step people get most confused on. You're just trying to rewrite 0.857 as a 1 plus or a 1 minus. These I feel like were easy because it's 1 plus, everyone gets that. When you subtract, it's a little bit more confusing, but you're just taking 1 minus this number to come up with this number. And this number tells us the actual percent. This is the 14.3%. And we think about this, it is DK. I said I wasn't going to do all of them because I want the video to not be too long. So I'm going to skip number 3. I might just write the answer so you can see it. In fact, I'll do that right now. And then we'll do number 4 together. Okay, if you did do number 3, it comes out to be a 1% increase. But let's look at number 4. I'm going to rewrite it. I'm going to have my 3 on the inside and my t on the outside. This time it's not a fraction, but it's still in a position where I want to get that t all by itself. And so that's why I'm going ahead and splitting it out so that my t is by itself. I'm going to put 1/3 to the third power into my calculator. And when I put in 1/3 to the third, I get 0.037. Is that a 1 plus or a 1 minus? That's going to be a 1 minus. So we're going to take 1 minus this to find out our rate. Okay, so when you take 1 minus this, you get 0.96296. And then move that decimal over 2 places, we get 96.3% DK. One thing I will mention is my decimals. If you are in chemistry right now, that you know that chemistry is really picky about decimals. In this class, I'm just not as picky. So like this one, I took it out to 4 decimal places. This was 3 decimal places. This was 2 decimal places. This was 5 decimal places. I'm just not very picky or consistent. I like to have, I think more is better than less. But in your answer, if you're talking about a percent, I think a 1 decimal place after is probably enough. This one I probably could have said 26.0. Okay, so it's just not, you don't have to be real picky about the decimals. All right, that is the end of the week's lessons. And so I have some summary lines down here. You can write anything you want to in there, or you know what, you could skip it if you want. I only had it at this place because it's really a summary for the whole week. So maybe that would be a good exercise for you, is to go back and review these notes and summarize what you've learned.